My name is MaryAnne. I think I am the CEO of the universe, which does have something to do with the diagnosis I was giving in bipolar. I am manic depressive and probably have been for many, many years, long before it was known that teenagers and young teenagers could suffer from that kind of mental illness. It wasn't diagnosed until I was much older. I got this entire cinema going on in my head and my life. I got a special little play that's happening. Now, it's not necessarily a good thing. Having audio hallucinations is not really a good thing. But there's always a story. And it wasn't conscious at first. But over time, telling stories became part of the strategy to deal with the universe as it is and to normalize it. Every time somebody says, "You're bigger than life," I go, uh-oh. If you think I'm bigger than life, I need to settle down here. And somewhere along the line, I learned when I'm too big, sit down. When I'm too much, hit pause. And if I'm under the bed, crawl out. And that's the two sides of bipolar that's so hard. It's the leap, it's the huge leap ahead, and then the crash. And how quickly you can spiral up and how quickly you can crash. So if my body is producing whatever it is producing that gives me this much energy, what am I going to do with it that makes it good? And given that I'm from Virginia, I'm going to tell a story. And given that I'm from Virginia, I'm going to sit you down and I'm going to cook your food. I'm going to give you something to drink, and I'm going to love you. So if I have this much energy and I have this much going on in my body and this much going on in my brain, I'm going to build a stage and I'm going to put you on it and you're going to tell a story. And that's going to be my reward. I think the earliest memory I have of not being okay was of not fitting in. And I think a lot of children feel like they don't fit in. And I didn't fit in the sense of gender. I did not wish to be the gender that I was. And partly I just didn't like the restraints that were put on little girls. So I wanted to be a little boy. Therefore, I carved my name of Bill into the furniture, not pleasing my parents at all. So that was when it started that I was not okay and didn't feel okay. My parents didn't think I was okay. The summer of the 7th grade, I was at a Little League baseball game, and in the parking lot behind the bleachers, I heard and started hearing sounds that other people didn't hear. And that progressed until those sounds became voices, and the voices had a personality and a name, and Lorenzo came to live with me and tell me what to do. And I was still in pre-adolescence, and then when I was 13 years old, I was institutionalized. My parents knew that I wasn't okay, and it wasn't okay not to be okay. It was particularly not okay for my mother, who wasn't okay, and whose mother hadn't been okay. A lot of not okayness on that side of the family. So she really needed me to be okay. And then I started to self-destruct, and I started to cut and to burn my body. And it wouldn't heal. So they would take me to one doctor, to another doctor, and it wouldn't heal. And the problem was, Lorenzo would have me destroy my body. And finally, a dermatologist sent me over to the University of Virginia Hospital. Dermatology was not the problem. It was a psych ward there. And I became the youngest member of the psych ward. But at the University of Virginia, it was more civilized, and there was the day room. There were activities in the day room. And if you did not behave yourself, you would be put in your room. And there was the room of restraints. They still did use restraints. And then you saw your doctor. And then you saw your team. And then you took your pills. And then you watched television. And then you took your pills. And then you took your pills. And you smoked your cigarettes. And you took your pills. And you listened to young men in white frock coats come and ask questions about your sexuality and things you had never dreamed of because you've never heard of Sigmund Freud because you're a child. The reason I left a psych ward is because the insurance ran out. And it simply was not possible for me to be there any longer. So I came home, and I was in that part of the South where women have the vapors, fainting sofas and vapors. So my mother would describe it that I had a touch of the vapors. I didn't know what else to call it. And I was very, very active or very, very depressed. And very, very active and couldn't sleep and be up all night or could do nothing but sleep. So I was allowed to go to a small private school where they could just keep an eye on me. The state of Virginia in the 60s was ranked, I think, 47th in mental health services in the United States. And there were very questionable psychiatrists that were in Roanoke, Virginia at the time. But my father did find a woman who was a psychiatrist, and her name was Dr. Amelia Woody. And her office was in a new building about 2 blocks from where I went to school, which is to say, I had the facility of getting myself there. And Woody worked with me every day. I would go there after school. If I was having a fit, she had an extra room and I could go have a fit. I could break ashtrays, I could sleep. And this woman was the person who taught me that the voices I had might not ever go away. She's also the first person I ever admitted that I had voices. Voices might not ever go away. I might have to learn to live with those voices. So her strategy, and there was some early medicine involved, but it wasn't good, and I don't think it did anything. I think what worked was instead of trying to change who I was, she tried to help me live with it. So if there are voices there and you need to talk to those voices, go ahead. Ask them what they need. But how do you keep those voices from hurting you, from instructions that cause you to destroy yourself, from taking an overdose or cutting yourself or burning yourself? So what she really did was work a lot with keeping them right. Parallel play. We're going to have parallel play. And I think that's what really changed. When I was very young, it would be a sound or sounds. And those sounds, are they inside your head or outside your head? Am I talking to myself? Is it coming from somewhere else? And then the sounds become a voice. So it goes from, take the pill, take the pill. Or cut, take the razor, cut. To hear something that no one else hears is terrifying. I think mental health is really exhausting. And I think mental health is really exhausting for the person who has got issues, and I think mental health is exhausting for all of our friends. That's one of the things about, in my case, audio hallucinations, because I had to spend all of my time either holding them at bay or following instructions. and then have enough energy left to go to school or have a job or whatever. What I'd like people to know about mental health is that it's not a choice. I didn't choose to have my synapses do whatever my synapses do. I've spent a lot of time in my life trying to not make that true. So I think living with what we have until we have enough science to know how to change it, if that ever happens, it would be good if people understood that some of us are living with what we live with, and we're doing our best. I have been taking medication for bipolar disorder for 25 years. I will be taking medication. I'm a much nicer human being, medicated. As a medicated person, I am productive. I do not have sudden rushes of energy that keep me up for 2 months at a time. I can sleep, I can work. I have a lot of energy. That has not changed. But now it's a gift. Unmedicated, it's a curse. So I'd like people to understand that it takes a lot of listening, takes a lot of compassion. And on their side, they have to take a break. It's very, very difficult, I think, to live with people who have mental health issues 24 hours a day. And the thing that upsets me the most is it's still upsetting. It's upsetting in my family, it's upsetting in communities, it's upsetting. As an adult, I think some of the most helpful things that my friends have done is stay the course, is to understand that I am railing against the tempest at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's not personal. So there are people who can tolerate me, and they sit with me. They are with me. They are on this journey with me. And that has been very, very helpful. When people who do not hear what I hear or feel what I feel tell me they know what I'm going through, I can tolerate that now, but I really don't want to hear it. When people say, oh, you're a survivor, you're going to be fine, and my entire internal world is collapsing, imploding in on itself, it's not helpful. We who struggle to be our best selves need your best self too. And I do think if we can all realize everybody's got something. Everybody's got a little something. Some of us have a lot of a little something. But to finally talk about my mental health, to finally talk about bipolar, to finally talk about having audio hallucinations. Like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, we are all visitors from another planet, and we have to help each other navigate this planet. It's very hard to talk about mental health. I would much rather talk about other parts of my life. It is amazing to me that in a world where we have come to be able to use the term mental health, where we can say we have a mental health crisis in this country, that we cannot fund this crisis, that we cannot put money into understanding what happens to the human brain. How many people have to die? How many people have to hurt each other? What will it take for us to realize we have a crisis? Every time I've had an episode, I thought it would last forever. I thought, this is the end of my life. I will be like this forever. And the last time, it took so much to get up on my feet. I absolutely told myself, if I can't do it this time, I'm not trying anymore. I'm done. But I did get up on my feet. And I got up on my feet with one friend under this elbow and another friend under this elbow, and I think a friend under this armpit and another friend. I was somewhat of a puppet being held up. And they kept saying, you're going to get through this. You can get. Do you want to get through this? I think that's a question you have to answer for yourself. Do I want to get through this? Do I want to live to see another day? Can I? Can I do one more time? And can I tell somebody else? It's not the end of your life. It's an episode, however you define episode. It's a break. It's an episode. It's a downer. It's an upper. It's awful. With any luck, your life will go on. But I don't know if you can do that by yourself. I think it not only takes a good therapist, it takes a good friend. Now, sometimes what I want to say to people who also have some form of mental health challenge, somebody might not have a friend. So you need to be a stranger who reaches out. Born poor, going to die poor. Born on a dirt road, going to die on a dirt road. In the meantime, if you can survive the ups and you can survive the downs, there's a middle ground. And you got to keep believing there's a middle ground.